Hey guys, welcome back to the GE Color Roundie Restoration Project. Before I dive into doing any work, I thought I'd summarize some of the comments I got. There were a lot of great comments, a lot of thought-provoking comments. Oh, let's see where to start. One about removing the yoke and convergence coils and all that from the neck of the CRT. Did I need to do that? I got mixed opinions about that. Yes, if you're careful and things are secured, you could perhaps leave the stuff on the neck and while you have it upright and you're working on it. I'm a little wary of that for a few reasons. One, the yoke on these is pretty heavy. And when it's upside down, obviously that force is going to be going downwards, and there's just a screw and a plastic collar holding it on. Wouldn't want that to slip off. The convergence coils have a long cable going to the board where you make the adjustments. That's all connected together. It's not, so that would be hanging, dangling off of this. And you wouldn't want to bump into anything and perhaps damage it. Some guys, I asked around, people have done it both ways. So when I do the next one, the RCA, I might try kind of maybe wrap something around it, put some rubber bands or something to protect it, wrap some bubble wrap or something and try doing it. For sure, if you take it off and you put it back on, you're guaranteed you're going to need to make some adjustments. But probably if you leave it on and go through all this, things are going to get a little bit out of alignment anyways, and you're still going to need to make adjustments. So I'd say I'll leave it up to you. Use your best judgment about whether or not to leave the stuff on the neck or take it off. Safety. Should you wear protective gear when you're working on a picture tube outside of the enclosure? Yes, you should. You should wear a heavy shirt or coat, gloves, eye protection, etc. I chose not to. I've been working around picture tubes since I was a teenager. I feel comfortable working around them. There's a bunch just in this room and I have a lot more in the basement. No, the risk is not zero, but that's my personal decision. Speaking of safety, let's talk about this. The lens cover, the screen protector. It goes by a bunch of names. What is its actual purpose? What is it made out of? What does it do? So I read all your comments. I read data sheets both on this picture tube and the one that came out before it that didn't have this. And here's my summary of it. There is an identical picture tube to this that did not have bonded safety glass. It just shipped like this. And it was installed in sets like that. But they did have a screen cover. And I was wondering, was that a flat piece of laminated glass, meaning plastic glass sandwich, which when they break, the plastic holds the glass in place. So the glass will break, but it won't go flying. Or was it something else? Apparently it's something else. It was just like this. It was a curved piece of, apparently this is tempered glass. It's not safety glass, it's not plate glass, it's tempered. Meaning if this breaks, like a car windshield, it should make little pieces like popcorn rather than sharp shards. It breaks up into little pieces. Okay, well, what kind of protection does it offer? Well, reading further in the data sheet, they say if you're going to use this picture tube, you should put a protective piece of glass in front of it. Okay, but was that to protect the picture tube from getting hit from the outside, like somebody throwing something at their TV? Or is it to protect the viewer in case the picture tube has a catastrophic failure and sends glass coming out of the set? Apparently, it's both. So, are we compromising safety by removing this and just reattaching it around the edge? Apparently not so much, because the earlier sets, that's exactly what they did. They had a rubber gasket, a piece of glass, just like this, maybe identical to this, just in front of the picture tube. So that made me feel a little bit better. Now, reattaching this, I originally had proposed putting spacers in and then wrapping it with tape to keep dust from coming in. The thought being that if I did need to remove it, for whatever reason, maybe I missed some gunk in there or something, it'd be easier to do. But, okay, I can't deny that most guys that did this, that are doing this, do put a bead of silicone around the edge, so that's what I'll do too. So I'll clean this again thoroughly on both the top of the CRT face and the back side of this. And then I bought some double-sided tape and some silicone. So I'm going to use this. I'll probably use 2 pieces, maybe even 3, to build up thickness, because just one layer, and this is the thickest they had at the Home Improvement Center. It's not as thick as the original material. And then to seal it, I'll just get this. I would have liked to have gotten black, but the only black I could get, you had to use a caulk gun, and it didn't seem like the same type of silicone like this, which should bond well to anything. So I went with clear. After all, the original bonding agent between these two was clear anyway, so I think we'll be okay with that. Did a couple more cleaning passes on the face of the CRT and the inside of the screen cover. Now I'm putting on this tape. It turns out the 2 thicknesses of this tape is exactly the same thickness as that original material. So I'm spacing some around, taking care to stay away from visible area. This part and the part on top are behind the bezel, so they really aren't visible, so I'm a little more aggressive there. Otherwise, I'm just spacing a couple on either side, really close to the edge. And then I'll put the cover back on and then run a bead of silicone around the outside. I carefully centered the screen cover over the CRT, set it down on the tape, and just finished running a bead of silicone around the outside. I'll let that sit overnight, and I'll run some clear packing tape around the outside like I had originally, and we'll see about reinstalling it. Here we are the next day. The silicone has cured up. Now I am still going to wrap tape around it. Why? Well, I'm not confident that it made a 100% perfect airtight seal all around it, and it had tape originally. It's simple enough to do, so why not? I'm just going to use packing tape. I'm going to run it around the perimeter and then fold it over. I'll leave half an inch or so sticking up when I wrap it. It's pretty basically what was on there originally. Just wrapped a layer of tape around the perimeter, left a little bit sticking up, folding it over. So it's inevitable it's going to do that because, of course, it's a curved surface and we're folding this down. But that's basically how it was originally. You can see we're well away from the visible area, so that's not going to be an issue. And this should completely seal it from anything getting inside. Alternately, I could have been more aggressive with the silicone, but I was concerned about it spreading too far in and being visible between the two. I think we've got a pretty good airtight seal. Reinstalling the mounting band now, and those reference marks I made before I took it off help, but I also realized while doing this, oh, it's symmetrical around the registration mark inside the glass. I'm going to leave it a little bit loose though so I can wiggle it a little bit when I mount it, because I was mistaken when I took this out and I said, it's round, it doesn't matter so much what the orientation is when you put it in, but it does, at least with respect to that stuff. Because of the equilateral triangles of the 3 guns, everything kind of needs to be positioned correctly, and it's easy to do if you just keep it all the way it was. But also the high voltage lead comes out at a right angle going that way. So I think we'll be okay there. And I want to get all the mounting stuff ready for when I put it back in. Alrighty, I got it back in. If I need to fine tune it a little bit, I can loosen up the band and rotate the CRT. Before I put everything back on, I'm really anxious to see what this looks like, so I'm going to flip the cabinet up and see how I did. Yeah, that's great. You don't see anything around the edges, just darkness. Alright, fantastic. So now we gotta continue on with putting everything all back together. But at least that big headache is done and out of the way. Well, I put everything back on as best I could. Now I do have one regret. I did take a lot of reference photos in terms of how things are oriented this way, you know, but I didn't take very good reference photos for how things are aligned on the neck. But, well, we shall see. I'm sure it's fairly close, but I doubt it's exactly the same position the stuff was in originally, so we will very likely have to do a bit of tweaking. Now, I'm not entirely done with work on the chassis, but I'm really anxious to get this set fired back up again. It's been a while, so I think I'll take the chassis as it is and pop it in. One thing I have not done on the chassis yet is replaced the socket that plugs into the CRT, so we'd still have to solder the one wire to the side of that. But sure would like to know sooner than later. I'd like to see the fruits of my labor, that's what I'm trying to say. Popped everything back together a bit loosely here and there. Unfortunately, when I went to put this back in, I discovered it had shattered. Not sure what exactly happened there, but I did have a couple spares, so I put in the U Zenith, and it is up and running. And, well, here's how the screen looks. Now this tube is a little bit weak, that's why I pulled it in the first place. Probably we don't have full horizontal deflection. But hey, it's alive. We still have the same issue with the vertical not coming all the way down. I know some guys said there's a 150k resistor that's always bad, and it definitely was on the RCA, but it's not bad on this. So I think that's really an issue with either vertical. Well, I tested all the tubes and they said it was good. I mean, they still could be bad. I think it's more likely that there's an electrolytic cap or two in the vertical circuit that are not up to snuff. I'm also thinking now that, and obviously I have the replacement circuit breaker in there now, and it hasn't popped yet. So now that I can run this set longer, caps might form up better, and that vertical issue may gradually go away. Might as well hook up a signal source. I expect it's going to be horrible. Alright, let's give this a try with a signal. Actually not as horrible as I thought it might be. It's the same deal where I don't really get color until I get to fine tuning near the edge. Very dirty volume control. But hey, it's alive. So that's cool. Did notice one thing though around the bezel. It's tight around most of it, but not in this corner. So when I put that mounting band around it and tighten it down, I didn't have this part of it pushed down as much as I can, as much as it should be. But that's pretty easy to deal with. I can just loosen up the screws. There's a little bit of tape here. Oh yeah, that's from me. If I loosen up that band and push down in this area, hopefully we can get that flush against the bezel. So, well, now I get to pull the chassis right back out and continue working on it. Volume control is really dirty. Just not working very well at all. Let's turn this back on for a moment. You may have noticed that the horizontal was filling it up better. Yeah, as you turn this on and the tube warms up, the horizontal gets wider and wider, which is a really good indication of a weak horizontal output tube. And that's exactly why I pulled it out of the Zenith TV that it used to be in. But I know I have at least one new old stock one around here somewhere, because a viewer sent it to me. He sent me a couple of them very kindly. Well, that's going to be it for now. When we pick up, I'm going to get the chassis back on the workbench and finish going over. I know there's some out of tolerance parts that I haven't replaced yet, and there are some parts I want to upgrade with a little bit beefier components. And after I get it out, I can work on pushing that CRT down in that one corner. Thanks for watching.